Eastwood Platinum. It's definitely more expensive than other rust encapsulators, but is it better? Or are there cheaper alternatives that work just as well? So this paint came out a few years ago and I've always wondered about it. It claims that it's 3 times stronger than original Rust Encapsulator. I also heard somewhere online that it's the same stuff as what you would use to paint the roofs on like a mobile home. So this stuff, it's got aluminum fibers in it. It's supposed to keep moisture out. This stuff at my local hardware store was only 20 bucks for 3.6 quarts. That's significantly cheaper than platinum. I also found this. This is Ace's chrome aluminum paint. It says that the metallic flakes form a film that is resistant to the effects of weather and direct sunlight. And then I'm going to test it with regular Rust Encapsulator to see if it actually is 3 times stronger than the original. And just for the fun of it, let's do some Pour 15. So I've got this rusted piece of metal. I'm going to scrape it down with my wire brush, try to get some of the loose stuff off of here. We're going to start first with the Pour 15. The first step in the directions is to use the cleaner degreaser and keep it wet for 15 to 20 minutes. So now that our piece of metal is dry, it's time to apply the metal prep. The directions say to remove all flaking rust, paint scale, etc. Apply with a brush, roller, spray, or dip rusted metal directly into the solution. Keep surface wet for 10 to 20 minutes, then rinse thoroughly with water. I'm going to call it 15 minutes. That's a good happy medium between 10 and 20. Surface must be bone dry prior to applying Pour 15 rust preventative coating. According to the instructions, it says apply in thin coats, 1 to 2 mil thickness. Always apply a minimum of 2 coats. So there's 1 coat. We'll let that dry, become tacky, and then we'll apply a second coat. It's been about an hour or so, and this has got some tackiness to it. It's not coming off on my glove, so it's time for the second coat. Now I know already that a lot of you will say that Pour 15 has to be top coated if it's going to be exposed to the sun, but I'm not going to top coat it because according to Pour 15's instructions, it says right here, must I paint over Pour 15 to make it last? It says no, but Pour 15 has an ultraviolet sensitivity and must be top coated if continually exposed to sunlight. Once top coated, Pour 15 will remain effective for many years. And then it says, will the sun destroy my Pour 15 coating if I don't top coat it? It says right here, no, your Pour 15 protection will remain, but the sun will change its appearance cosmetically. That's why we recommend you top coat it. So since according to Pour 15's instructions, it's only cosmetic, I'm not going to top coat it, mostly because I'm not going to top coat any of these other paints. So now we're going to apply the Eastwood Platinum. The directions on this: clean surface to be painted with pre-painting prep. Brush application. Apply 1 medium wet coat with a bristle brush to rusted areas. Assure hard to reach areas are coated. It says 1 medium wet coat, and that's pretty thick. It's not a thin coat like I did on the Pour 15 2 thin coats. It says let that dry for 4 to 48 hours. Alright, now it's time to apply the Aluma coat. First, let's read the instructions. Now this one says apply across the surface of the roof. All surfaces should be dry, clean, smooth, and good repair. Aluminum pigment and fibers will settle to the bottom, so a thorough mixing is necessary to disperse these components prior to use. A power drill mixer can be helpful to mix product faster. Application. Apply evenly with a heavy nap paint roller, spread in both horizontal and vertical directions, overlapping ends of strokes. 2 coats is recommended for longest life. So we'll let that kind of tacky up and then I'll do a second coat on here. Time to apply the second coat, and this time I'm just going to use the brush because I think the brush does just fine. Now we're going to use the Ace Chrome Aluminum paint. What tools to use? A good quality Ace brush or roller or spray unit. Surface preparation. Remove all traces of moisture, dirt, grease, oil, soot, and rust. Wipe metal surfaces with Ace paint thinner. Apply directly to bare metal without priming. Application. Stir thoroughly before and during application to keep aluminum flakes from settling. Do not shake. Thinning is not recommended. Apply 2 coats on unpainted surfaces. Dries to the touch in 4 to 6 hours, but allow overnight dry between coats. We will let that dry overnight as per the instructions, and we'll come back and we'll put on another coat. All right, it's the next day. This is all dry, so time to put the second coat on. We'll let it dry and then we'll move on to the next one. Now we're going to apply the regular old Eastwood Rust Encapsulator. A couple of things about that chrome aluminum paint. My tape didn't hold up very well. It actually ran a little bit under the tape. In fact, it even got on the Aluma coat here a little bit. So when we look at it a year from now, we just won't count that part right there on the Aluma coat. And this might skew the test for the Rust Encapsulator, but let's remember where that is. So first things first, let's look at the instructions. Application. Ensure the surface is free of loose rust, scale, and paint. Clean with a stiff wire brush should be sufficient. Remove all dust, oil, grease, or chemical contamination using Eastwood pre-painting prep or lacquer thinner. Allow to dry thoroughly. Single coats of Eastwood Rust Encapsulator will be touch dry in 20 minutes and thoroughly dry in 3 to 4 hours at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. If a second coat is desired for greater durability, allow 1 hour before applying the second coat. If applying heavy coats, allow extra drying time. Let that dry for an hour as per the instructions, and then we'll put another thin coat on there. All right, here we go. I've got them all labeled. Rust Encapsulator, Chrome Aluminum, Aluma Coat, Platinum, and the Pour 15. Today is Friday the 13th. This is the perfect day for it because it's actually starting to spit snow. I'm gonna leave it out here and we'll see what happens. Real quick before we get to the results, a lot of you guys have asked about my t-shirts. Well, guess what? T-shirts are finally available. There's a link down in the description that'll take you over to the merch site. I'll be coming out with new designs pretty regularly, and I'll be running special deals every month. And you don't even need to like my videos in order to find a t-shirt you might like. So click on over, come back often, and now let's get to the results. So it's March 13th, 1 year later to the day, so let's take this thing inside and get a closer look at it. This year was actually a pretty dry year. We didn't get nearly as much of the snowfall that we normally get, but we got a decent amount. As you recall, I labeled each one of these so I didn't forget which one was which. Let's start over here with the Pour 15. The Pour 15 actually came out pretty good. I've had mixed results with Pour 15, but it is a very good product, so long as you follow all of the steps, of which there are many. As you can see, none of the rest is really poking through. And then next we have the Platinum right here. It doesn't appear to be as thick as the Pour 15. If I run my fingernail over here, you can feel this one's a little thicker. I don't see any rust poking through on that one either. So next we have the Aluma Coat. Now this is that roof coating. It did get a scratch or something over on this side. Not sure how that happened, but you can see there is a little bit of rust poking through. As you recall, this aluminum chrome coating kind of trickled over into here, so in this spot right here, it's kind of not a fair test because it's got double coated. Speaking of which, chrome aluminum, actually I think this one is the worst. You can see how thin it is. You can see rust poking through, especially on these corners. A lot of rust poking through on that one. And last but not least, we've got the regular Rust Encapsulator. And this one's got some rust poking through as well. Overall, out of these 5 rust encapsulators, I think the POR 15 came out really well, but again, it's really involved and it's expensive and there's a lot of steps in the process. Whereas the Platinum, in my mind, kind of came out pretty even with POR 15, although not quite as thick, but I suppose you could probably do more than 1 layer. Aluma coat, I mean, it does keep some of the rust from coming through, but if it gets scratched, then that rust might come back. The chrome aluminum was worthless. I would not use that as a rust encapsulator. And of course, the original rust encapsulator works just fine as well, but I would say the Platinum definitely has better results than original rust encapsulator. So cost versus effectiveness versus ease of use and how involved the process of applying the paint is, those are all things that you have to kind of weigh out. I was actually really pleased with this Platinum paint because it looked just as good as the day I applied it. No top coat needed, no extensive prepping, just scuff it up with your wire brush, wipe it down with the pre-painting prep, and apply 1 medium coat of paint, let it dry, and you're good. So since this was kind of a below average year for precipitation here in Central Oregon, I'm actually going to put this thing back out on my deck and we'll take a look at it for the 2-year review. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you like, subscribe, it's free. It costs you nothing, but it really does help me out. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you. Again, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you on the next one.